Hey, everybody, welcome to It's Real with Jordan and Demi. In Los Angeles, I'm Jordan Edwards. In New York, we got Demi Ramos, and today our special guest is Shamir. What is going on, Shamir?
Not much. I'm out here. I know we talked about this beforehand, but I'm going to apologize again for being like 5 minutes late.
It's all good. It's all good. No, and I told a story on a previous episode that Shamir was one of the first guests I had to book through a publicist. It was a big deal for our show to get Shamir at that early stage. And Shamir, you were like just a few minutes late, but you were super apologetic. You were like just relaxed. You just got out of the shower and done your skincare routine. It was just like this angelic presence and at that point we weren't just doing audio by itself. We weren't doing video, but it was really like reassuring to have this like kind face on the other end while we were doing the interview.
No, this is like nice, like very nice, like have like, a face to the voice.
Also, pause. What is your skincare routine? I have to ask now that we're on this.
It's simple. A lot of people will detest this. I've seen good and bad things about it, but I use just like the normal, like witch hazel toner.
No,
I know. And I use that, and then I use a cannabis-based what is it? Serum.
Serum.
Yeah. Okay. And then for my moisturizer, I use this I hate that is gendered, but I use this moisturizer that's supposed to be specifically for men, but it works wonders because it's not too oily. And I just do a 3-part, and then they say that you're only supposed to exfoliate once a week. I exfoliate twice a week. I use this. I don't know what the exfoliant is in it, but it's like a nice natural scrub. And then when I don't exfoliate, I just use water. I think it's like good to not have too many like detergents and soaps like on your face too much.
Yeah, soap is super like drying for me. I'm trying to figure out like the perfect balance for like my skin, but yours is just glowing. It's like my mom actually says she doesn't use a cleanser. She's like, oh, I just let the conditioner run down my face. I'm like,
listen, I just started doing a skincare routine 2 years ago. I used to be like one of those people that was just like blessed with really good skin, and like this kind of just like let the like water hit my face. Like if I have like a face cleanser around, I would use it, but like I wasn't like regimented about it. But like now that I'm in my late 20s, I'm like, okay, we have to buckle down.
It's all about preventative care.
Exactly. And I'm already like,
don't wait for the Botox to do the work for you. Do the work ahead of time yourself.
Well, I'm thinking about starting to freeze it up soon. I said I was gonna do it for my 27th birthday, but I think I might just do it for like my 28th birthday, and then just like start doing it like every 6 months. Because like once you start, you have to continue. You know what I mean? And
yeah. Maybe one day I'll care enough. I definitely like play like the straight guy card when it comes to my skin. I feel like I don't do nearly as much as I could, but I should get on it.
No, that's also like one of like my main like journeys in life is to like get all like my male friends to like start caring about their skin.
Yeah. It's So let's talk about the music here. You got this new album, Heterosexuality, came out a little over a month ago.
1 month anniversary.
1 month anniversary. Yeah, last Friday. So 1 month anniversary came out February 11th. And
And you feel and how do you feel about this album?
Yeah, I think it's my best. I think it's my best to date. And the response has been funny.
I saw like the predictable mixed review from Pitchfork.
I think reviews have just been mixed over the board. It's funny because every time it's so funny. It's like clockwork. Every time I say that like the reviews have been funny, immediately everyone brings up the Pitchfork review.
There aren't that many media outlets that do like ranked or like graded reviews anymore.
Which is like but it's just funny to me because it's just like to me, like the Pitchfork reviews is like its whole own entity. I think even just aside from Pitchfork, I think just like some like the individual and like independent things that I've seen, it has been mixed and like not, you know, like not that I care. Like I've had panned albums before, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I like, you know, at the end of the day, like I do music for me. But I just think that it's really funny because like usually this is the first album where it's truly been mixed, right? Like Self-Titled, the one before this was just like universally praised. Ratchet was universally praised. And then I have like albums like Hope and Revelations that was just like kind of universally panned in like some ways. Like obviously some people liked it, but it was like, you know, more panned. And I understood why, you know what I mean? But I think this is the first record where it's truly like I haven't seen any in between. It's been like album of the year or like I don't like it. Like it's no one has been.
I think that's a good sign, though. I think
so too. I don't hate it. It's just like a new feeling.
It's the kind of thing where like that the albums that get that kind of reaction are the kind of albums that are retroactively 10 or 15 years in the future looked upon positively. Usually,
yeah, I think this might be my Pinkerton.
Your Pinkerton, yeah, totally. This could totally be your Pinkerton. Yeah,
wasn't it like an Eminem album that they like reviewed? Am I?
They always re-review like every Sunday. I think that's like a thing that they do now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's like no, they need. If you review it, you got to stick by. Like,
oh, you mean like oh yeah, they did like a special thing where they like change scores. I thought you meant they like, go back and like
I didn't like that at all. I didn't like that at all.
Like, I have to go back on what you said, you know, like what?
It's, you know, I'm not going to talk much about Pitchfork because I feel like we're in a Cold War, Cold War. And I don't, you know, because there's a lot of people there that like I love. Like I have like, you know, people there that like literally like lifetime like homies. And like I know it's just like a whole operation and everything. And like, you know, I think at the end of the day, they're like, you know, a respectable publication, and I think it's cool, you know, because in a world where like there's like publications like that where people actually truly care about the reviews, and I think that still is something that like, you know, I don't want to talk down or diminish because like, you know, we don't have many, like there used to be like a bunch of different, you know, there used to be like the Enemy and like there's still Enemy, but like, you know, they used to be like, you know, they used to have physical prints and like everything, and like you know, now I personally like music reviews because I think it, you know, I listen to them and I don't take them personally. And like, if there's like true criticism that I can like take with me, I enjoy that. And the fact that there's like not much music criticism anymore just because of money and things, that does kind of make me sad.
Yeah. And we're trying to do more of that at Pop Dust, make it more of like an old school, like I think the peak of music blogs was maybe like 2010, 11, kind of that era, like when the Hype Machine era. You guys are maybe a little bit too young to remember that.
I remember.
So before we started the show, Demi was really excited to talk about like the production and how this album was put together, right?
Let's talk about the production. I mean, there was some rock flair. There was, you know, like your electronic flair. But I mean, this title itself, and I mean, even when it comes down to the track titles, I don't know. You just go for it, man.
Yeah. Well, I wanted the tracks, like the track titles, to just like tell his own story, even before like hear it. So,
was it like Cold Brew?
Well, it starts off Gay Agenda, then Cisgender, then Abomination, then I think Caught Up, Father, Cold Brew, Marriage, Reproductive, and then Nuclear. So just kind of just like, to me, through the titles, if you just like read the titles alone, I think to me it tells a tale of kind of like falling victim to the heterosexual world, right? Like maybe you have like these queer feelings starting with Gay Agenda, you know what I mean? And then you question your gender and sexuality with cisgender, and then that makes you feel like an abomination. And then you start thinking about your father, and then you start thinking about marriage, and then you conform because you want to reproduce, and then now you're with a nuclear family and you're stuck.
Wow. Was that pretty much, does that kind of describe your own personal story?
No, I don't have a family.
Okay. So it was like a hypothetical thing.
It's a hypothetical, but I think the songs are about me not falling victim to the boxes, right? But I think the titles alone tell a story of like maybe the butterfly effect of like if I did perform, what would I have wanted out of life? You know what I mean? Because like I don't know, like I'm not eager to have kids, but I like to like have kids one day and like have a family and like everything, and like that is completely recontextualized when you're queer and not cis. You know what I mean? You have to like think about it in a completely new way than like you were taught to think about it, right? So yeah.
It's funny. I have a strange upbringing. I haven't talked about this much, Shamir, but I grew up. My mom went to gay bars when I was a kid, and so I was around like that early night. We talked about this at our last interview about like the gay the country line dancing craze in the early 90s, because a lot of states had where you couldn't have two people of the same gender dance together, so you had this like country line dancing thing. And it's interesting to me as there's been this boom in queer culture as like a straight cis guy to see the way that different people have handled their coming out and the way they're presenting, the way they're more free than they used to be. And also I feel like maybe you can shed some light on this, how they are appearing to other queer people. Is there a pressure to look a certain way to other queer people? You know what I'm saying?
No, and I think that's another thing that like, I think me kind of like making a record like this, why it took so long, because I didn't want to have that pressure on there. And I knew if I was going to kind of like explicitly talk about queerness, that I wanted to do it like in an open end type of way where I'm like, I'm not even critiquing anything really. I'm just kind of like really kind of talking about my experience and how that is in context of like the world that we live in. And I think that's another reason why I called it heterosexuality as well too, because like I don't think of it really as like a queer record per se. You know what I mean? Like I think it's more so of a record about nonconformity. Like I think anyone could kind of like, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but I think even like, you can identify as like being cis and straight and like still feel kind of like the friction of the confines of like the boxes of like what it means to be cis and straight. You know what I mean? Like there's been so many like cis and straight people throughout history who still challenges like what that looks like. And you don't necessarily have to be queer to challenge like what that looks like. And I think that's also the cool thing about like, 2022 and like TikTok and everything. Like there's so much like, discourse around like, straight boys wearing dresses or like whatever. And like, I do understand like where that comes from. And like, I definitely, have some qualms about that as well. But also at the end of the day, I think it's like a good thing. Like, why not expand like what it means to be like cis and het as well?
Yeah. In terms of the outside of the themes of this album, production wise, sonically, it's very layered. It's very dense. And it kind of goes off of, the big song off of, I guess it was your last album, the On My Own. Yeah, was sort of almost like an intro to this sound that's on this album. So where did you go in terms of what kind of sounds were you looking for on the production side of this album? How did you want it to sound?
Well, my friend Isaac Hollow Comet, he produced this entire album, and his production was like the second half that I needed to be inspired to like make this record, because he has a very like specific sound that like I absolutely fell in love with. Because the story goes is that like I started working on this record 3 weeks after Self-Titled came out. And it was because Self-Titled came out, and Isaac DM'd me and was like, "Oh, I like Self-Titled. Like, we should work together. like at some point, and I hadn't really written during that time because like promotion for self-titled was so grueling because, you know, COVID and like figuring out how to like record and Zoom and do things myself, you know what I mean? And like, you know, I had to do like my KXP session completely by myself because I live alone. So like, you know, like just setting up the stage in my house and doing all that stuff, like it was just like really grueling. So I think I just was too stressed to write. And that kind of made me feel down a little bit just because I'm so used to writing all the time consistently. And but I also like wasn't complaining too much because I was in the process of releasing my 7th album. So I was just like, you know, letting it ride and, you know, didn't have any material. And then when he DM'd me his like production work, I was like, I've been searching for this sound my entire life. Like, I can't believe like here you are like sending me this right now. And then literally the next day, that's when we started writing. Like I just sent him stems and we finished the record in about 3 months.
Along your career, you've worked with a few different people, some of which are producers. You've also had multiple projects. Can you take us back to anorexia days?
Anorexia! This is my Nardwar moment, not anorexia.
Demi loves Nardwar, so
That's the biggest inspiration, Nardwar, for real.
Okay. First of all, I just want to address the name. Listen, we were 16. It's so bad. The name is so horrible. Like, don't cancel me, y'all. It's such a bad name. I like every time I hear the name, I cringe. Like, it's just, you know, especially as someone who like, you know, calls himself a mental health advocate. Like, I don't know, the name makes me cringe. Like, yeah, in like some spaces it's like punk or like whatever, you know, that's what we're like going for. But like, you know, we're young, stupid 16, like whatever. But yeah, Anorexia was my band that I started when I was 16. Actually 15, 16, with my friend Christina, who literally became my touring bassist for 2017 to 2019. And literally the only reason why she's not touring this record is because she's in school. She's going to school for music production.
Wow.
But yeah, so we are still collaborators and, you know, still talk about music, and she's literally like my best friend. But yeah, that was kind of like my first like taste into music, because that was the first time that like I got noticed like on the internet and like, you know, by publications. Like Bitch Magazine wrote about us because we were like really like big like in like the feminist punk space. So Bitch Magazine wrote about us, She Shreds wrote about us, and then we got enough buzz just around that and Tumblr days that we were able to play South by Southwest our senior year of high school. We were like literally still in high school and like had to like take days off of school. Like I remember going to my counselor's office. I'm like, I'm going to South by Southwest. Like,
see you later.
Know, see you later. And at this point, it was crazy because like most of our fans was like in the Pacific Northwest like feminist realm. No one cared about us in Vegas. Like we barely had play shows. Like we played more shows like in South by than we did like the entire time that we were like recording and making music in Vegas. Like all our fans was like either like international or like within like the Portland, Seattle like feminist scene. So a friend from that scene had a showcase in Austin, booked us, and then when we came back, that's when Las Vegas finally wrote about us, because he was like, a band called Anorexia that's local is at South by right now. Like, and we didn't know. And so yeah, when we came back, we were like in the local paper and like, they photographed us and like everything. And yeah, that was like my first kind of like, yeah, like experience just like music and like actually been noticed by my music and like, yeah, like doing it.
I don't know where Demi went, but we'll hope she comes back. Just you and me. I was like, oh, this is you and me.
It was like perfect timing too. Like I was finishing it.
I was like, because our producer Hope, she's the one who usually messes with the camera. And I was like, oh, is she here? So we'll see. Demi. Oh, there's Demi. Okay. Demi's back.
Service just cut out. Okay, I'm back.
Okay. So speaking of that, Shamir, you are from Vegas, and we talked about your interesting relationship with your hometown. Last time
Mhm.
you're on the show, you're not a big fan of Vegas, but one thing that we didn't talk about is how has Vegas reacted to your career? Have you gotten any like interviews with like the local alt weekly, the local newspaper?
Mhm.
Like, does Vegas embrace you?
Yeah, I think Vegas definitely does embrace me as best as they can. I just think that it's just, the local scene in Vegas is just a little bit more it's just a little harder to like build from, I guess I
Yeah.
could say is like the word. Um but like it's definitely there. Like I think one of the biggest frustrations about Vegas local musicians that, definitely like we tried to push against too when we were, doing our thing back in high school is that, that we exist. You know what I mean? It's just like it's a little harder to get our name out there, but like we exist. And I never want Vegas to feel like that, like, I'm downplaying the local scene out there. But again, just like I said, like Vegas is a capitalist hellhole. And like that is just the situation of the fact. And so I know that there's people out there trying, but it's hard. And so, because of that, I'm still only indie famous. So like, I'll get like the local papers and like everything, and like, I've been on like some of the like local covers, and that's really the only time I hear from people like from back home who's like, oh, Shamir like must be doing well because he's on like a local cover of the paper. But it's different in Philly. In Philly, they treat me like a god.
Yeah, Philly's very supportive.
Yeah.
What's silly is Demi's in New York. I just moved to LA like a month ago, and I don't know why I never pulled the trigger on it, but I was like, I'm friends with Sadie Dupuis. She's in Philly. Shamir's in Philly. We could have like me and Demi could have jumped in the car and like did some
Literally.
like person stuff in Philly, and the opportunity's gone. But maybe someday.
Yeah, definitely someday. Come through.
Yeah. Are you like dead? Are you like in Philly for life? Are you like a Philly guy now?
I think so. I think, if I'm ever rolling in the deep, my long-term goal is to I want to have a studio like in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, not necessarily Las Vegas, but in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, that's like a house, but also a studio where like artists can go and just like be secluded and like record, kind of like what Kanye has in Wyoming.
Wow.
I want that like in Nevada, and then I wouldn't mind just like a small like condo in LA because there's just so much work in LA,
Dude,
and I find my
Yeah, that's another thing is you had just done, well, you hadn't just done, but he had recently done Tuca and Birdie and the animated TV show. And you talked about how you wanted to go out to LA to do more voiceover acting stuff. How's that going?
Well, I just recorded for season 3 Tuca and Birdie last fall. And they're so nice and accommodating because they'll just like find me a studio out here and I record all my stuff myself. It's a little isolating, but yeah, and yeah, I definitely still want to like do that. And like again, haven't really been able to like, go out to LA for like, an extended period of time and do it like that. Like I was out there for like a month last summer, but again, I'm doing so much like music stuff, and like that's why like big goal. I think even before the Nevada one, like if I could get like a condo in LA, that would be like perfect.
Yeah.
Just for part-time, just to like audition, do work, and because there's just still so much work out there, but I don't want to live out there. I don't.
I feel it.
When you're making projects, I wondered, because I also wanted to ask about the heterosexuality cover art. How specific are you with cover art? And is it just as like grueling to like figure out the visual for a project as it is to finish a project?
I would say it's even more grueling. Like music is the easy part for me, like, but I do enjoy the art stuff more now than I did maybe in the past, like with the Ratchet era. Thank God I had a label because like I would not have known what to do because like I remember they set me up with I think his name is Mike Zimmerman. who had the art for Ratchet, which was like amazing. You know, that neon black cover, amazing, iconic. Now, you know what I mean? Like he really like did amazing. But I remember when we had our first meeting, he was like, "What do you want?" I was like, "Do you just want to just like do whatever?" Like I
Oh
was
my
just like,
God.
"You can just do whatever. I trust you. I like you. I trust you. Just like go off." And that's what he delivered. And I was like, "Great, let's do it." But now I like, yeah, now I like definitely think it through, and like, you know, with this one, as I said, like in the press release, like it's inspired by like the Baphomet figure, and that was like definitely imagery that I wanted to play on, that I knew that I wanted to play on before honestly I even started writing the record.
Yeah, I was wondering the origins of that character, of that the antlers and all that kind of thing. I know that in the deer and antelope world, male animals have the antlers and females don't.
Yeah.
And if that has something to do with it, or like,
No, I was just dumb. I found that out on Twitter. Somebody, because I was just like, yeah, because I was like, oh, I look really good in antlers because people always told me that I have doe eyes, and then someone's like, babe, like does don't have antlers. Like, what do they do now? Like, leave me alone. I think I just responded, child, anyway. So
Oh my God.
I was like trying to like read like a deep meaning into the whole.
but maybe that
thing.
is, you know what I mean? I think there's been so many kind of like happy accidents in that way, where like obviously the title of the record, heterosexuality, is not a happy accident, like that was intentional. But I was doing it to kind of like troll. But then once I like really thought about it, I'm like, actually, it's really the perfect title, because like it really is just, you know, it's not about me being heterosexual, but it's about my relationship as a queer person with the heterosexual world.
Yeah.
So I was like, actually, it's very apt. Like literally, I could not have named it anything else.
It's heterosexuality as a subject,
Yes.
not as your own personal identity or your.
Well, that's
own,
why it's called hetero. Someone said that, and I was like, that's why it's called heterosexuality and not heterosexual.
Yes, there you go. There you go. So Shamir, you're going to do a song for us.
Yeah.
From the album.
Mm-hmm.
Which one are you going to do? You're going to do cold brew, right?
I'm gonna do cold brew. I'm like not drinking cold brew. It's just regular coffee. I got a Wawa.
Let's go, Wawa.
Yeah, I was gonna do cold brew too. It's like, it's funny because my cousin is here because he's gonna drive us down to South by, and I was like sitting there contemplating. I'm like, do I want cold brew? Do I want cold brew right now? I was like, no, I'm gonna do like the hot coffee, because I just like hot coffee like chills me down a little bit, and it's like 6 p.m. So
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's almost.
My little brother once was like, I think he was like 18 time. He lives in Florida. He was like, I'm gonna take you to dinner, and I was like, you're 18. Where are you gonna take me? I'm like,
yeah.
Job. He takes. I'm like, oh, so I was like, okay, let me go. I was like, oh, he's gonna take me to. Okay, that's so cute. You know, I visit every once in a while. He takes me to Wawa. He was like, look, it's the best place ever. You can get anything you want. And I was like, all right.
Honestly, I'm obsessed with that, and I will be actually so happy. Like Wawa. The only thing I don't like about Wawa though, because like I Uber Eats. This, how do you say Uber Eats? I don't know.
Yeah.
Uber Eats. This. I had Uber Eats in it, and like
you can't do it yourself. You can't make it right.
Well, no, that's not even a problem. Like it's just like when I was on tour last month, that was like my first time like going in for like in a while, and I saw the calorie counter, and I was like, this is demonic. I don't like this. Why would they
look
do
at the calorie
that?
counter. You can't look at that.
There's a calorie counter on Uber Eats?
No. When you go in Wawa now, so like whatever, like everything you add and everything you do, they like add up the calories so you can see how like many calories your entire meal is. And I'm like, I hate that.
Whose idea was that?
Whose idea was that?
Yeah.
Fire them now. I love Wawa, but whoever's idea is that in corporate, fire them now.
Killing the dream. Killing the Wawa dream.
Yeah.
All right,
anyway, yes, cold brew. I have a guitar. You can see it in frame. But
yes.
I am playing.
Do you have a name for your guitar? Do you name your guitars?
I don't, but I think I actually called this one Loretta because Fender sent it to me, and it's like one of the nicest guitars I've ever had. It's like literally a $2,000 guitar.
It looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
that like matte paint job is beautiful. Yeah.
Loretta. That's
Loretta. Okay, so here performing with Loretta the guitar is Shamir, and here's Cold Brew.
when I'm trying to sleep, my trauma visits me, reminds me it's all that I've got. And I know it's rare to go on without fear, especially when all you're scared of is yourself. When my head is clear, past inches near, along with everything I wanna leave behind. So it's cold brew and ginger beer to get rid of these nightmares that's made me the void I know I am. Follow me and never let follow me and never let. And my whole goal is to make everyone I know feel the wrath past lives made my fate, and the fog in my eyes, much to my surprise, keeps me going in the midst of pain. When my head is clear, past inches near, along with everything I wanna leave behind. So it's cold brew and ginger beer to get rid of these nightmares that's made me the void I know I am. Follow me and never let. 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 When my head is clear, the past inches near, along with everything I wanna leave behind. So it's cold brew and ginger beer to get rid of these nightmares that's made me the void I know I am. Follow me and never let. Follow me and never let me. Follow me and never let. Follow me and never let.
All right. You're doing an album release show in Brooklyn at the Sultan Room on Friday. What other live tour shows do you got coming up?
Got some stuff in the summer that's not announced yet, but yeah, definitely look out in the summer for more.
Do you remember the day that you wrote Cold Brew, and like what did that feel like, and what kind of headspace you were in?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it was one of the middle songs that, I think we already had like 3 or 4 songs under our belt, me and Isaac at that point. And again, this was during the pandemic, so like we were completely demoing these just via email. And so I was just like, still just like very inspired and like, felt like I had his production instincts like internalized and like in my DNA. So when I wrote the song, like I knew how he was going to produce it before he even produced it. Like, and so when I wrote it, I did like my own whole demo because normally I just give him vocals and guitar. But I fully mapped out the song. Like I used like my drum machine to like do like some early like drum stuff, the bass part, the guitar part, and I recorded it all on my 4-track. It sent him like that full demo and then sent him the stems. And I think the headspace that I was like in during that time was just like fully writing mode because I knew that I was just like making this record. But that song specifically is about when at that point I was about like a little over a year quitting cigarettes and it was something about kind of like giving up cigarettes where I was like having these like crazy nightmares. Like,
were you using Chantix?
No.
Oh,
I quit cold turkey.
Oh wow! Because I had an aunt who used Chantix, and it gave her nightmares. So wow.
Yeah, I think it was the combination of that. I also like quit smoking weed, and I wasn't like drinking as much too because I don't like drink like at home. So I think it was just kind of like the feeling of raw dogging reality.
Fear of raw dogging reality.
Yeah, it just like unearthed traumas that I'm sure all of my vices was like mending for me, I guess, and they all kind of just like came up subconsciously like in my nightmares, and like not even just like when I was sleeping, but like the nightmares was like really crazy because I'm a person who's not even used to like remembering their dreams. Like I'm convinced I typically don't dream, so that was just like a really like intense time for me. So that's where like the line cold brew and ginger beer to get rid of these nightmares came about, because like also I was going through a huge cold in 2020 lockdown. I discovered my love for cold brew. Like I still drink so much cold brew, but that's when the addiction started.
Well, Demi's a caffeine nut. I don't partake as much in like Demi dead ass drinks Four Locos, so it's a whole other level.
My friend was telling me, or my cousin was telling me about dying on Four Loko, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty fine with Four Loko. The only thing that like I don't agree with is like the sugar. Because I just like I can't do sugar like at all. Really.
I'm a sugar person.
Really, I can't do sugar. Yeah. I typically like
your skin's so good.
Well, when I do drink, I drink like a farmer. I drink just bullet bourbon preferably, but I like just bourbon in general, and I just literally drink it on the rocks. Like
when you go to my dad has become a bourbon guy. When we go to restaurants now, he's got to order like whatever signature bourbon cocktail the restaurant offers. Have you gotten into mixology and stuff? Or you just like straight up, just like...
No, I drink straight bourbon on the rocks.
Oh, okay.
I like bullet bourbon. That's like my go-to, and it's like on my rider. But
you have bullet bourbon in your rider. Okay,
absolutely.
What else is it? What else is in your rider?
Gluten-free snacks. Gluten-free like fizzy alcoholic beverages. Like if they can do like cider or seltzer. And that's it. I'm simple. I don't need much.
Nothing too crazy or hard to obtain.
No, I'm not one of those people.
Not one of those people.
Those people are annoying.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for coming on the show again, Shamir.
Thank you.
And for blessing us with a song performance. We weren't expecting that when we booked this. So it was a nice little treat for us.
Yeah, it's the least I could do for being late.
All right, guys. So check out Shamir's new album, Heterosexuality, is out now, and hopefully some touring stuff in the summer. And of course, catch Shamir and Tuka and Birdie on Adult Swim whenever you feel like it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Shamir. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So that'll be it for us. You can catch us, of course, on past episodes on YouTube and Facebook, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter and what else? Oh yeah, TikTok, of course. All right. So until next week, we'll see you later.